Okay, my artists. Today we're going to talk about how to weave on a standard loom. So I've already set my loom up. Now what I want to do is I want to start by giving myself what I like to call an arm span of yarn. And so I spread, you probably can't even see my arms. It's when you open up your arms as wide as you can open them. We call that an arm span. So you can see I have quite a bit of thread. And I'm going to start weaving with that. Weaving is really an A-B pattern. And we always weave through the warp strings. It doesn't matter which end I start with. Nor does it matter whether I start over or under. I personally like to start under. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my string or my yarn, whatever it is you've got. I'm going to pull up that first string. Then it goes over this next one. So I'm going to pull it over. This one it needs to go under. So again, we're doing over, under, under. Now this is where it can get kind of tricky. This next one is an over. So I'm going to make sure that I pull after each time I go through the warp strings with my weft. That's what this one's called. It's the weft, kind of a goofy name. I make sure I pull it, not tight, but firm. I don't know the great word to say. Firm, neatly, and then you push it, you kind of push it up like that. So just so it stays in straight. Now this one's supposed to go over this last string, but now I need to turn the corner and come back. So I take my string here, and I'm going to be putting it under. So this one's over, this one will go under. Over, under, over, under, and over. Now this is where you kind of have to be careful. I'm pulling it all the way through now. If you have these little loops on the ends, it just means you didn't pull it all the way through. But the other side of this, notice how, remember it was over and then we have an under? If I gently tug and I'm gonna move it so they're right up next to each other, and it's still a little loose. If I pull it too hard, look what happens to this last strand. It starts to come in. We want to try to avoid that. So we want to leave this just loose enough that this string stays nice and straight. So I had an under, over, under, over, under, over. The next one should be, whoops. That's right, under. So I start, it's kind of like rounding that corner again. Well, I don't have to do that every time. Over, under. Sometimes I even remind myself, oh yeah, I don't have to do that yet. Over, under, and this one's over. So I'm gonna pull that all the way through. Try to avoid that little extra without pulling it real tight. And then I just kind of push it up like so. And I'm gonna continue doing this until I've got quite a bit woven. Now, the thing about weaving is we can also weave with extra colors or different colors. And if that's what I want to do, I can simply leave the strand like that, bring in another color. Again, get an arm span. It's a lot easier to work when you have not too much, but not too little. Another little trick is if this is kind of hard, see how it's starting to fray? So what you could do is just put a little piece of tape on that, and that'll help keep this really nice. I end it as an over. So if I were to continue with my turquoise thread, the next step would be to round the corner and go under, right? So that's how I'm going to start with the pink. Under. See this? I'm just not even going to worry about it right now. Okay? So, over, under, over, under, over. And I'm gonna pull my thread, see how it's starting to come through, right? And I'm just gonna kind of leave a little tail for myself. And I'm gonna push it up next to, now this is where it gets really kind of fine. Let's see if I can't get you guys to see this really close. That's really close. That's super close. Might be almost too, oh, nope, it's perfect. When you guys look at the strands, do you notice how I have, let's see, find my scissors here. In this one, I have an over, then an under, an over, and then an under. See, when we weave, we don't just weave this direction, over, under, over, under. We're also trying to make the pattern go down through the warp strings. And that's what's really going to hold our weaving together. So, happy weaving until we're all done.